What were some of the things? Because you said something along the lines of listening to advice, etc., that you might not have done before. Do you remember any advice that was sort of pivotal to your career?
Well, it wasn't necessarily advice. It was more like the particular thing that I'm thinking of is in our case that kind of stands out the most is we played a show pretty early on in Oakland with some friends of ours called Saviors,
Right.
and this there was this lady who was came up and introduced herself at the merch table and was like, "You guys are great. I don't know if you guys have a manager, if you'd ever be interested in that kind of thing." And uh, I guess I maybe gave her my email address or gave her the band email, and then she wrote to us and wrote this email that was like, "Hey, we met at that. I'm friends with Saviors, and that's why I was in town, but I'm from LA, and blah 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 blah."
Was that
And
Sergeant
I think
House or?
this no, this wasn't Sergeant House. This is
Right.
before. I think it was maybe even before that.
Right. Right.
And I had looked at the email and just thought, I mean, it was like our 15th show or something. I was like manager. And I just was like, laughed. And I thought it was a joke basically. And then, then the Sergeant House thing happened because our friend Rob McConaughey, who made that prehistoric dog video, he was working for Kathy's production company. And so he said, I think you guys should talk to Kathy about this. And I think in the past, maybe we would have been like, that's whatever. Nobody's going to care about that stuff. And it was just like, why not? And then talk to her. And then she had all these ideas. And it was like, okay, I'm going to, we're going to trust you and trust that the reason that you're excited about this. And then just trusting her and letting her actually help us led to us getting this booking agent, which, none of us had ever been in a band that had a booking agent. That made a big difference. Immediately, there was a huge difference in the way that our shows went. And then a couple years later, we're recording with Chris Funk for our second record. And he was like, hey, I think that maybe you guys should talk to, because we had a 1-record deal with Sargent House.
Right.
And he was trying to help shop our record around, and it wasn't working. And he was like, maybe you guys should talk to my friend Laurel. She used to manage the Decemberists. And I think she might be able to help find this record a home. And so we contacted her, and then she was like, oh yeah, don't you remember I wrote you an email after that show in Oakland with the Saviors? And I was like, oh my God, wait, what? So it was one of those things where it was like, even in that moment, if I just, if I paid attention and actually trusted that we maybe are good enough to deserve somebody, offering their help as a manager. That obviously ended up working out, but that's one of those, that was the moment that I was like, okay, this is evidence that you should actually just listen to people sometimes when they offer you these sorts of things instead of just, being all up in your own head and not trusting anybody. So,
right. That's a good example, man.